How to destroy anyone politely. When you know how to stay calm under fire, you never have to raise your voice to win. The first rule is mastering your frame. Silence and composure are your greatest weapons. When someone tries to provoke you, don't react. Pause, breathe, and let them stumble over their own words. Instead of attacking people, expose contradictions. Ask sharp, respectful questions that reveal the cracks in their argument without ever sounding emotional. Then, use fact anchors, clear truths and one powerful detail, to dismantle false claims with precision. Always mirror and label emotions to show control. I can see you're passionate, then reframe toward logic. That balance of empathy and firmness disarms even the toughest critics. And finally, end with grace. Summarize the flaw, offer a calm correction, and exit with dignity. I understand your point, but the facts say otherwise. That's how you destroy arrogance without ever losing class. Through calm power, precision, and unshakable poise. How to destroy anyone politely, inspired by Poumpouras' true power, isn't in how loudly you speak, but in how calmly you respond. When someone tries to challenge, provoke, or belittle you, the instinct is to defend or react. But that's exactly what gives them power. The ability to destroy someone politely is about maintaining emotional control, intellectual sharpness, and quiet dominance. Former Secret Service agent and behavioral expert Poumpouras teaches that real strength lies in calm composure, strategic questioning, and unshakable self-respect. You don't fight chaos with chaos, you neutralize it with clarity. The art of polite destruction is not about humiliation, it's about mastery. It's about dismantling arrogance without ever raising your tone, and exposing lies without losing your grace. The first key to mastering this art is controlling your frame. When you remain calm, you control the tempo of the interaction. People who seek to dominate use emotion as a weapon. They want to provoke anger, fluster, or fear. But when you stay collected, they lose control. Speak slowly, breathe deeply, and let silence do the heavy lifting. A pause before your response shows power and presence. It creates space for your words to carry weight. A calm tone signals confidence, and confidence is disarming. Even in heated debates, composure communicates dominance. The quieter you become, the louder your control speaks. Evie often emphasizes this: whoever controls the emotion, controls the conversation. Next, attack the logic, not the person. People expect confrontation to be personal. That's why when you keep things objective, it catches them off guard. When someone tries to corner you with accusations or manipulation, respond with questions, not reactions. Say things like, "That's interesting. Can you explain what you mean by that?" Or, "How does that align with what you said earlier?" These gentle but pointed questions make inconsistencies obvious without you ever sounding defensive. You're not exposing them. You're simply letting their words expose themselves. Logic cuts deeper than insults, and it leaves no room for retaliation because it sounds fair, calm, and rational. The third technique is to anchor your response in facts. When you respond, do it with precision, not emotion. Use one clear, undeniable point that undercuts their entire argument. A single truth stated calmly can destroy 10 lies. It shows intelligence and control. For example, instead of arguing endlessly, you could say, "Actually, according to the data, it's the opposite," or, "I understand your opinion, but here's what the facts show." You've ended the debate without aggression. Your strength is in your certainty. This is how professionals, leaders, and thinkers dismantle opposition, by making emotion irrelevant. Another powerful strategy is to mirror and label emotions before redirecting them. If someone becomes heated, match their tone for just a moment, then cool it down with empathy and logic. Say, "I see this is really important to you," or, "You sound frustrated. Let's look at the facts together." This technique instantly diffuses tension because it shows awareness and emotional intelligence. People can't fight someone who understands them. By labeling emotions, you take control of the atmosphere. Then you steer it back toward reason. You're not submitting to their mood, you're mastering it. Finally, the key to ending any confrontation with strength is to exit with grace. Don't stay to prove a point. When you've said what you need to say, concisely and confidently, step back. You can end with a line like, "I respect your view, but I stand by mine," or, Let's agree to revisit this when we both have more clarity. Leaving the last word calmly shows that you are not seeking validation. You already have it. True power doesn't need to shout, and true confidence doesn't need to convince. You've won when you've stayed in control, stayed composed, and left your opponent realizing they've lost their balance, without you ever losing yours. In the end, destroying someone politely isn't about cruelty. It's about power through restraint, wisdom through composure. It's a skill of leadership, not domination. When you can stand in chaos and remain calm, you become untouchable. Poumpouras teaches that grace under pressure is the highest form of strength. And when you master that, you don't just win arguments, you win respect. How to control any conversation, the Poumpouras way. Controlling a conversation doesn't mean dominating it. It means directing it with intelligence, composure, and influence. According to Poumpouras, a former Secret Service agent trained in behavioral psychology and interrogation, the key to conversational control lies not in talking more, but in understanding more. Power in communication isn't about volume, it's about precision. The most influential people don't force others to listen, they make others want to listen. They know how to guide the tone, manage emotion, and shape outcomes subtly. To control any conversation, you must first master yourself, your body language, your breathing, your tone, because how you show up determines how others respond. The first rule of control is emotional neutrality. When emotions rise, logic falls. If you lose control of your feelings, you lose control of the exchange. Teaches that the calmest person in the room always holds the most power. Whether you're being criticized, questioned, or challenged, your ability to remain unshaken dictates the direction of the discussion. Slow your breathing, keep your voice low, and listen intently. A composed demeanor immediately shifts the energy. It communicates confidence, authority, and respect. When others get emotional, don't mirror their chaos, mirror their intent, then guide it. The one who stays emotionally centered becomes the anchor, and the anchor always controls the tide. The second principle is strategic listening. Most people listen to reply, but powerful communicators listen to understand. Control begins with observation, the way a person's tone shifts, the words they emphasize, the pauses they take. When you pay attention to what isn't being said, you learn the truth beneath the words. Poumpouras often says that silence is a weapon. When you allow someone to speak without interruption, they reveal their motives, fears, and inconsistencies. That's when you step in with precision. Ask targeted questions that bring the conversation back to your frame. Instead of pushing your viewpoint, pull theirs toward your logic. The best control doesn't feel forced. It feels natural, because it's based on awareness. Next, ask questions that steer. Questions are the steering wheel of every conversation. When you ask the right ones, you guide the direction without appearing dominant. Phrases like, "Help me understand what you mean," or "Why do you feel that's the best approach?" subtly shift control to you. It forces the other person to explain themselves, and in doing so, they unconsciously follow your lead. Great conversationalists know that whoever is asking the questions is leading the dialogue. This isn't manipulation, it's strategy. You're not overpowering the other person. You're leading them toward clarity and cooperation. Another secret weapon is mirroring and matching. Evie often talks about how rapport creates influence. People naturally trust those who reflect their rhythm, tone, and energy. By mirroring someone's posture, speaking pace, or emotional tone in moderation, you make them feel seen and understood. Once they feel safe, they become more receptive to your perspective. From there, you can gently guide the tone where you want it to go: slower, calmer, more logical. Mirroring isn't imitation, it's connection. Connection creates comfort, and comfort gives you control. Finally, end every conversation on your terms. The person who closes the conversation gracefully is the one remembered as in control. Summarize your point with clarity, reinforce mutual respect, and decide when it's time to disengage. You might say, "I appreciate your perspective, let's revisit this later," or "That's a good place to pause for now." Ending with calm authority prevents others from hijacking your emotional state or your time. Control isn't about getting the last word, it's about leaving the last impression. At its core, Controlling a conversation the Poumpouras way is about influence through composure. You don't overpower people, you outthink them. You don't raise your tone, you raise your awareness. You don't chase validation, you command respect through presence, confidence, and empathy. The one who listens deeper, responds slower, and speaks with purpose becomes the quiet leader of any dialogue. Whether it's a negotiation, argument, or interview, the calmest mind always wins. Because when you master the art of control, you don't just guide conversations, you guide outcomes. The psychology of commanding respect without saying a word, the Poumpouras method. Respect isn't demanded, it's projected. Before you even speak, people have already decided whether to take you seriously or not. That decision is shaped not by what you say, but by how you carry yourself. According to Poumpouras, former Secret Service agent, body language expert, and one of the most composed communicators alive, respect is psychological. It's something you command through your energy, your posture, your silence, and your emotional control. The most powerful people in the world don't announce their authority. They radiate it. They enter a room, and everyone feels it. You don't need to prove yourself when your presence already does. The first psychological key to commanding respect is self-possession. People can feel when you're grounded. They can also feel when you're uncertain. The human brain constantly scans others for cues of dominance or insecurity. If you fidget, rush your words, or avoid eye contact, people subconsciously rate it as weakness. But when you move slowly, stand tall, and speak with measured pauses, you communicate confidence without arrogance. Poumpouras often says that the calmest person in the room is the most powerful one. Because composure equals control. When your body language is still, your energy feels stable, and stability attracts trust and respect. So before you speak, master your physical presence. Shoulders back, chin up, breathe evenly. You don't need to look tough, you just need to look unshaken. The second key is intentional silence. Most people fill silence because they fear awkwardness, but powerful people use silence as a weapon. Pausing before you respond makes others lean in. It creates tension and authority. Silence signals that you're processing, not reacting. It also shows that you're comfortable enough with yourself to not rush. Evie learned during her interrogations and high-stakes interviews that silence often reveals more than words. When you don't rush to fill the gap, others expose their motives, insecurities, or truths. In everyday life, silence commands respect because it makes your words feel deliberate. People listen closely when they know you don't speak unnecessarily. The third psychological tool is controlled emotion. Respect evaporates the moment you lose your temper or get defensive. Emotional control shows mastery. When others try to provoke you and you remain calm, you instantly rise above them. It's not that you suppress emotion. It's that you own it. When your energy stays steady, people realize they can't manipulate you. That's intimidating in the most elegant way. Poumpouras often explains that emotional discipline is what made her effective under pressure. When she didn't react, she controlled the outcome. In conversations, relationships, or leadership, emotional calmness equals psychological authority. The one who cannot be shaken becomes the one everyone listens to. Another subtle but powerful factor is nonverbal credibility. Your face, tone, and gestures either reinforce or contradict your message. If you say you're confident but your shoulders sag or your voice quivers, your words lose meaning. Consistency between what you say and what you show builds trust. People respect congruence. When everything about you aligns, speak slower. Keep eye contact without staring, not occasionally, but not excessively. Small, steady movements communicate assurance. Every gesture should feel deliberate, never nervous. The brain subconsciously associates stillness with certainty, and certainty earns respect. Finally, the deepest layer of commanding respect without words lies in your internal belief system. You can't project power you don't believe you have. Confidence isn't about perfection, it's about conviction. When you truly know your worth, it changes how you move, how you speak, and how you respond. Poumpouras often reminds people that self-respect precedes external respect. When you honor yourself, your standards, your time, your principles, others learn to do the same. People treat you as you teach them to. The energy you give off silently communicates what you will and won't tolerate. In essence, commanding respect without speaking is about alignment. Your body, your emotions, and your mindset working together as one clear signal of strength. You don't need to over-explain, impress, or prove yourself. Your calm presence, focused energy, and quiet confidence say everything. Poumpouras embodies this truth. The most respected people aren't loud. They're composed. They don't demand attention. They draw it naturally. They don't chase validation. They already know their value. So if you want to command respect, start with silence, build composure, and let your energy speak long before your words ever do. The art of emotional intelligence in power dynamics, the Poumpouras formula, emotional intelligence is the secret weapon of true power. Titles, positions, or status may impress people momentarily, but emotional mastery commands long-term respect and influence. Poumpouras, former Secret Service agent and expert in human behavior, often says that emotional intelligence isn't about being soft. It's about being strategically aware. It's knowing how to read people, regulate your emotions, and guide outcomes without force. In power dynamics, whether in business, relationships, or conflict, emotional intelligence allows you to influence without intimidation, lead without shouting, and control without controlling. It's the difference between reaction and response, between dominance and leadership. The first layer of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. You cannot manage others if you can't manage yourself. Every emotion you feel, anger, insecurity, pride, fear, has a signal. The powerful know how to interpret that signal before it becomes behavior. Poumpouras often explains that emotional control starts with awareness of your triggers. When you feel provoked, instead of reacting, ask, "What is this emotion telling me?" Awareness creates space, and that space gives you power. People who react impulsively lose authority because they show they can be controlled by external forces. But those who pause, assess, and respond calmly appear unshakable. Emotional awareness is not weakness, it's the foundation of unbreakable strength. The second principle is empathy without attachment. This is one of Evie's strongest teachings. The ability to understand people deeply without letting their emotions consume you. Empathy helps you connect, but detachment helps you stay rational. When you understand why people behave the way they do, when you can see through anger, ego, or insecurity, you gain leverage. You stop taking things personally. Instead of reacting to someone's aggression, you start analyzing it. What are they really trying to achieve? What are they afraid of? This shift from emotion to observation transforms every conversation. It keeps you powerful and composed. Empathy makes you relatable, and detachment keeps you in control. That balance is emotional intelligence at its peak. Next comes emotional regulation, the ability to choose your state instead of being ruled by it. Poumpouras developed this skill in high-pressure environments where panic was not an option. The same principle applies to daily life. When things get tense, an argument, a negotiation, or an insult, you must remain composed. Take a slow breath, maintain your posture, and respond deliberately. Emotional regulation is visible. People can sense calm energy, it's contagious. When you stay in control, you set the emotional temperature of the room. Everyone subconsciously follows your lead. That's how leaders win without dominance. They control the emotional current through self-mastery. The fourth component of emotional intelligence in power dynamics is social awareness, the ability to read a room. Evie emphasizes that attention is your greatest tool. Observe tone, posture, and micro-expressions. Who's confident? Who's defensive? Who's pretending? When you can read people's emotional states, you can predict behavior. That's when you stop reacting and start strategizing. If someone's insecure, reassure them subtly. If someone's arrogant, don't feed their ego. Starve it with calm indifference. Power doesn't always come from action. Often, it comes from perception. Those who read emotions accurately hold the advantage in any interaction. Finally, emotional intelligence culminates in influence through integrity. Poumpouras teaches that real influence isn't manipulation. It's alignment. When your emotions, words, and actions match, people trust you. And trust is the ultimate power. Manipulators rely on deception. Leaders rely on authenticity. The emotionally intelligent individual doesn't just control conversations. They inspire respect. You don't need to overpower others when your presence naturally compels attention. Influence built on authenticity lasts, while influence built on fear crumbles. In the world of power dynamics, emotional intelligence is the invisible armor. It protects your peace, sharpens your awareness, and elevates your authority. People might resist force, but they always respond to presence. When you can stay calm in chaos, read emotions accurately, and respond with purpose, you become untouchable. Poumpouras embodies this truth. The most dangerous person in any room isn't the loudest or the strongest. It's the one who understands everyone else while remaining completely in control of themselves. Master your emotions, and you master the game, because power without emotional intelligence is just noise. But power with emotional intelligence becomes art. The power of grace under pressure, the Poumpouras mindset. Grace under pressure is the true mark of inner strength. Anyone can appear confident when things go smoothly, but when chaos strikes, when people test your limits, challenge your integrity, or try to break your calm, that's when your character is revealed. Poumpouras, the former Secret Service agent known for her unshakable composure, teaches that grace under pressure isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about maintaining dignity, clarity, and confidence even when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. In a world that rewards aggression and noise, grace is the ultimate power move, because nothing is more intimidating than someone who cannot be rattled. The first foundation of grace under pressure is mental discipline. Your mind must lead your emotions, not the other way around. When a situation turns intense, whether it's confrontation, criticism, or chaos, your thoughts decide the outcome. Evie often explains that training your mind is like building a muscle. It takes repetition, awareness, and control. You must condition yourself to pause before reacting. Take a breath, assess, don't assume. This split second between stimulus and response is where your power lies. Grace begins in that space. The choice not to react impulsively, but intentionally. When you control your internal dialogue, external circumstances lose their power over you. The calmest mind always wins the moment. The second pillar is emotional stability. Graceful people are not emotionless. They're emotionally mature. They can feel anger, disappointment, or fear, but they refuse to let those emotions define their behavior. Poumpouras learned this through years of operating in high-risk situations, where panic could cost lives. She emphasizes that emotions are signals, not orders. When you feel triggered, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me about myself?" That question shifts you from victim to observer, from chaos to control. Grace isn't pretending everything is fine. It's standing strong even when it isn't. The third element of grace under pressure is physical composure. Your body speaks before your words do. When things get heated, your body language can either amplify tension or dissolve it. Stand tall, relax your shoulders, maintain steady eye contact and an even tone. The goal isn't to look unbothered. It's to be unbothered. Your posture communicates whether you're grounded or grasping for control. Evie often says that calmness is contagious. When you project stability, others start to mirror it. Your physical stillness becomes a signal of strength. A composed presence under stress earns more respect than 1,000 forceful words ever could. Another key to maintaining grace under pressure is detachment from ego. The ego thrives on validation, competition, and control. But grace transcends all of that. When someone tries to insult you, undermine you, or provoke you, the ego wants to fight back, but the higher self chooses restraint. Evie teaches that true confidence doesn't need to prove itself. Grace means knowing your worth so deeply that no insult can shake it. It's realizing that someone else's chaos doesn't require your participation. When you stop needing to win every battle, you start winning the war for inner peace. Graceful strength is quiet strength. It's power without performance. Finally, faith in your resilience completes the mindset. Grace under pressure is built on trust. Trust in your ability to handle whatever comes. You don't have to control everything, you only have to control yourself. When you believe that you can adapt, recover, and overcome, fear loses its grip. This self-assurance allows you to act with integrity, even in the hardest moments. You stop reacting to pressure and start performing under it. Evie Poumpouras embodies this perfectly. She faced danger, chaos, and uncertainty, yet never lost her composure. Her grace was not passive, it was power disguised as calm. In the end, grace under pressure is not weakness. It's poise, strength, and strategy combined. It's the ability to stay kind but firm, calm but confident, soft-spoken but strong-willed. When others lose their cool, you become the stillness in the storm. Grace is not about being perfect. It's about being powerful enough to stay composed when others crumble. Evie Poumpouras reminds us that true power doesn't roar. It whispers. And when you master that whisper, when you can hold your peace in the fire, you become unstoppable. Because grace under pressure isn't just a reaction, it's a way of life, and it's the mindset of a person who has already won.